I don't know what I was thinking. It seemed like an innocuous idea. Find one of the clowns, corner it, find out why they're doing all this. I'd become a media sensation. My findings might have led to blowing the entire clown thing wide open. All because of my bravery. I'd be a hero. At first, my town seemed to be a sacred land that no clown dared to touch. It was a God-fearing blue-collar town where everyone knew their neighbors and the postman could eat for an entire week thanks to the housewives and their generosity. There was one school, a Baptist-run institution that, surprisingly, focused more on education than religion. Everyone who has ever lived in the town went to that school, just like everyone here got their first job at the window factory. It's simply how things were. Some called it a trite, we called it home. Sure, there was crime. One time, for example, the Dashley's oldest boy lashed out and broke through windows at the church. It was all over the news and the papers. People would gossip, of course. However, no one chastised him for his actions. Instead, everyone was supportive and got him the help he needed. I'm not trying to brag. This was just a genuinely pleasant and nurturing community. When the news broke that a clown had been seen sitting on the steps of the school the other night, it sent a ripple throughout the calm town. Everyone had been following the stories, yet no one was concerned with seeing them here. Why would we be? We all knew it was a prank, albeit a stupid one, that would fade away into obscurity. It was chalked up to the Daxley boy lashing out again. Until the next sighting. And the next, and then another, and then two clowns together. It wasn't until a dog was found mutilated in the middle of the town center that the population collectively began to panic. Curfews were enforced. Shops closed early. School and church service was reduced down to twice a week. Had someone passed through after dusk, they would have found it a ghost town. Fear was running the town now. And I wanted it to stop. My plan was simple. Every night since the first incident, the clowns had been seen on the school grounds or the church grounds. All I would need to do is stay out of sight of the sheriff while I waited to see a clown. Then simply run up on it and ask it why the hell it's in this town. Easy. Darkness had finally fallen the night I decided to act. I've never believed in guns nor taking a weapon to an unarmed fight, but I'll have to admit, the hysteria was beginning to grate on me at this point. I went out with a wooden Louisville slugger and a flashlight. It was slightly after 10 p.m. and most of the residents were already sleeping in hopes of seeing daylight sooner. That made it easy for me to avoid the sheriff as I was able to cut through backyards and hide in driveways when the patrol cars got too close. This was a small town. On a regular night I could walk to the school in less than 10 minutes, but law enforcement wasn't taking any chances. It took me almost an hour to reach the school, and when I did, I was upset to see there was nothing waiting for me. Nothing. I posted up in a nearby tree that had a clear view of the front of the building and got comfortable. Something in my gut told me that I was going to have to wait here a long time. I wish I could say that a few hours into my shift a clown came and I was able to get my answers. I really do, but I fell asleep. I woke up on the lawn under the tree with the blinding daylight and a gun in my face. The officer was stern and visibly shaken, but nice enough to me. At the station he gave me coffee and a nice selection of pastries and fruits to choose from for breakfast. In other cities this might be seen as in buttering up a suspect to get them to talk, but not here. This was Southern hospitality at its finest. We talked for a while about everything going on with the clown situation. The conversation wasn't focused on my actions like I had expected. The officer was more interested in what my thoughts were on how to deal with this clown situation that was currently paralyzing the town. I think he saw my actions as more brave than incriminating, like I wanted. I could still be a hero. After a couple hours we came to an agreement on the situation. The sheriff's office would turn a blind eye to any investigations I want to conduct alone, even after hours. However, any criminal activity would be penalized to the fullest extent, especially assault. He made it very clear that no matter who was behind this, I wasn't allowed to touch a single hair on their head. It was a reasonable compromise. That night, I returned to my post. It was a lot easier without having to stay out of sight. A simple nod of acknowledgement was the only exchange I had with the officers patrolling the streets. When I made it to the school, I found no signs of life yet again. I climbed a tree and settled in for a long night. About 2 hours into my wait, I still hadn't seen any signs of a clown. My eyes were getting heavier by the minute, so I made the decision to inspect the grounds and see if I could discover anything indicating a clown might be in the area. When I jumped to the ground from the lowest branch, I was greeted with a tall figure wearing a bright, shiny blue bodysuit that was bedazzled with buttons and patterns. I'd be lying if I say I didn't fall back against a tree, gasping for air. All confidence left my body as my eyes met its face. I had been expecting a poor silicone mask, not a white human face, with red lips and blue hair staring back at me. The lack of a red nose unsettled me as well. This wasn't the clown I was prepared for. I couldn't move. My body had shut down on me when I needed it the most. The clown didn't move either, didn't even blink. Just stared at me deeply with these bright green eyes and a smile that was permanently affixed on his face. A standoff. After a few more minutes, the clown reached out one of his white gloved hands to me. I looked to his hand and then back to those oddly bright eyes without budging an inch. Nothing about the clown had changed aside from his arm. He still didn't blink. He still had that fucking smile. It nodded a couple times towards his hand like it wanted me to grab it. I was confused, but with the hope of humanity still being behind that costume, I reached out to shake the outstretched hand. Before I was able to fully lock palms with the clown, I was met with a light shock that radiated at my forearm. I screamed. The clown arched his head back, grabbed his belly, and laughed at me. It sounded like there was a broken, squeaky toy lodged in his throat. The electric jolt must have been enough to revitalize my body, as I jumped up and shoved the clown away from me as hard as I could. It fell back in an exaggerated manner, flailing its large white shoes and sliding on his rear end across the grass. After a brief pause and a look of disbelief, the clown began to silently cry while rotating his fist under his squinting eyes and stomping his heels into the ground. I was annoyed with these dramatics and started yelling at it. Nothing remotely coherent came from my mouth, just a bunch of profanities and blame. Once I relieved my pent-up frustration, the clown stopped pouting and began to laugh a squeaky laugh again. But this time it was accompanied by another noise. A louder noise that wasn't coming from its mouth. The air around me was overtaken by a sound that was similar to a million cicadas clicking in a deep whisper. I couldn't hear the clown in front of me any longer. Everything was overtaken by whatever was making this background noise. I fell back again, grasping my head in pain and attempting to cover my ears. My heart stopped. I looked up and the clown in front of me was now a Rorschach painting across the grass. My interrogating officer was standing next to me with a shotgun. He yelled at me to run and grab my arm and yanked me to my feet. Entirely surrounding us were clowns of all different shapes and sizes, walking towards us with their mouths wide open, slightly facing the ground. We barely made it to the station, circumnavigating all the clowns that overtook the streets. It's been 38 days since that incident. We've been barricaded in the station, taking rotating shifts in the camera room. The clowns, they've taken over our everyday lives. We watch them go shopping, watch dogs, go to school and work. It's like they're trying to replace us. The only peculiar thing they do is surround the station at night and laugh in unison, all night, until the sun rises. Then they continue on like nothing happened. We've got full utility access here, and have been keeping up on the news. We know it's spreading. I fear that my actions that night may have caused them to resent us. I wanted to be the hero, but I can't find a way to stop this. Greenville is gone. Don't let the media fool you. Stay away from here. More importantly, don't go near the clowns.